Hello and welcome to Moto Mouth. I'm Moshe Levy, and today we're going to be talking about riding motorcycles when you have young children at home. This is based on an article I published in Motorcycle Consumer News way back in August 2009 when my wife was pregnant with my second baby girl, and I was struggling to figure out how to balance being a dad with riding motorcycles. Now, this is a fairly controversial subject within the motorcycling community, but suffice it to say I'm in the minority of motorcyclists who did not give up riding once I had a family. And this is my story of why I kept riding even as the kids kept coming. There's some reminiscing I have to do to explain the backstory to you, so let's hit the road and I'll give you the lowdown on my personal search for balance on this important issue. Alright, we're back on the road here and I'm going to tell you my story. You know, it's hard to believe so much time has gone by, but way back on our third date in October 2004, I picked up my then girlfriend Terry on my old Harley Sportster 1200 Custom, which was a violent jackhammer of a motorcycle. Now, she had no pillion experience to speak of, so I supplied her with some basic gear and instructions, and we took off from New York City on that damn Sunday afternoon and logged about 350 miles through the back roads of upstate New York. It was a sort of a test I concocted to see what her reaction to motorcycling would be. I was thinking that the Harley's harsh lack of creature comforts and the gloomy weather and the long hours in the saddle would conspire against her and turn her off to my passion for riding long and hard whenever possible. But to my surprise, when we finally stopped for the day, she told me that was fun, but I'd much rather ride my own bike than sit behind you. A few months later, after she successfully passed the MSF's beginner class, she sourced this adorable 1971 BMW R60/5 as her first motorcycle, and we spent every spare moment of the next 2 years either riding or planning to ride. Terry never wavered when presented with the challenges of a long day on the road. She hung in there on the 900-mile days and in the downpours, and never complained. I was ecstatic about having a riding partner as fervent as I am, instead of having to beg for time away, as so many of my riding friends were resigned to do. Motorcycling had become an integral part of our lives, and I got used to seeing her headlight in my rearview mirror every weekend. I loved it. Our riding culminated in a month-long cross-country trip in 2007, when I finally proposed to her under the dazzling stars of a South Dakota sky. Then, a few months after we were married in September 2008, we were thrilled to learn that we were expecting my second daughter in July 2009. Amidst all the commotion of such an announcement, we began to discuss how that would impact our riding habits, and we really struggled with this very personal decision. We met other motorcycling families who dealt with a new baby in any number of ways. Some kept on riding as if nothing changed, others limited or even stopped riding altogether, and a few even split the difference where one parent stopped riding and the other continued on. Every situation is different based on the individuals involved and their unique circumstances. At the time, the only certainty about it all was that for us, there was a radical change in priorities. Once she learned she was pregnant, Terry didn't ride either of her motorcycles anymore. To her, the rewards of riding were not worth the potential risks, and she was in full nesting mode anyway. When I learned of the pregnancy, I consciously rode less. Now, since I started riding in 1997, there's always been a diminutive voice in my subconscious warning me of the inherent dangers of riding motorcycles. I hear it before each ride, and it's always helped me to stay grounded and focused. I heard that voice growing ever more strident and gaining in influence. I found excuses as to why the cage might be a better choice for the day's commute, in direct contradiction to my usual way of thinking. It was a strange, undeniable, involuntary mental reflex of sorts, which was tempering my zeal for riding motorcycles with an added sense of familial responsibility. A war raged in my head each morning before I departed for work, with the lure of the road pulling me in one direction and a knowledge of its potential hazards pulling me in the other. So in the end, I stopped riding for about 6 weeks. I became depressed. I couldn't just give it up as so many had done. I just couldn't, not without getting major PMS all the time. So I rode less, and I found out the hard way how perishable the skills we build up over time really are. Nothing major happened, but when you ride less, your sixth sense gets dull. You get sloppy, you make more mistakes, and in my experience, you actually increase the chances of something bad happening as a result. So I went back to commuting every single day as usual. 2 years later, in 2011, we had my third daughter, Maya, and there was no blip there. I knew I had to keep riding and to try to balance my risks as best I could, but all the balancing in the world can't change the fact that this is a dangerous sport by definition. In the November 2016 issue of Motorcycle Consumer News, David Huff explains that motorcycle riders, mile for mile, are 35 times more likely to die on the road than car drivers. Nevertheless, having a family changes many things. These days, with 3 smart and beautiful girls relying on me, and a demanding job, I've only got time for about 1 or 2 trips per year, but mostly it's just commuting to work day after day. My commute is long. It's about 108 miles per day round trip, which is how I get to test all this gear. Riding still provides me with something to look forward to before and after working each day. It helps me get centered. It helps me keep focus. And I'm starting to notice others like me with young kids, also still riding. It's definitely a minority, but it's one I'm happy to be a part of. Now, every one of us must find a natural balance on how much risk we're comfortable in assuming when suddenly there are other lives dependent on us. The balance involves not just risk, but personal freedom and identity. Just how much does being a conscientious, responsible parent impact being an avid motorcyclist? Beyond the obvious constraints on free time, when one is truly addicted to the cathartic release that riding provides, sacrificing any more than absolutely necessary to achieve the balance can be potentially unhealthy. Riding is in our veins, as compulsory as eating and breathing and sleeping. To eliminate it entirely is for some essential part of us to die, but to continue exactly as before is selfish and unfair to the growing family. Somewhere in between these two extremes lies the equilibrium we're endeavoring to discover. Where was yours? Until next time,
keep the shiny side up.
And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more of your favorite Moto gear reviews.